So today we're going to be taking a look at some subtraction and deciding what places you'll need to ungroup whenever you're subtracting. Again, we're going to use our story problem steps to guide us through each part to help us solve for the answer. So step one is to read the entire story problem. So here we go. A teacher buys 200 erasers for his students. Wonder who that could be. He gives 152 of them away. Pretty generous guy. How many erasers does he have left over? Going now to circle my important information. I want to identify the numbers as well as what they are about. So I see 200. I see 200 erasers. Then I see a next part. He gives 152 of them away. We're going to include that word gives with the number 152 to help us understand what we're going to be doing. And then how many erasers does he have left over? Using my handy dandy math mountain, I need to put my numbers 200 and 152 in the proper place. So I need to think about what's really happening. So the teacher has this big group of 200 erasers. He's going to give 152 of them away. So I understand that it is not going to be a larger group when the math is done. It is smaller. I will then need to put 200 at the top of my math mountain. 152 will be my first addend, and the other one is unknown. I'll go ahead and write my problem, 200 and 152, lining up my hundreds, tens, and ones place. But now to decide what am I doing with them, adding or subtracting. The word gives helps me to understand that this is a subtraction problem. I can also go back to my math mountain and think of my cheater symbol. Going down the math mountain means I'm subtracting. And so I'm going to go back and subtract. So my question is this. Let's see what places I need to ungroup. If I have 0, none, of course that means I'm going to need some more to do that. So to help me understand what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and make a quick picture. So here it is, 200. 100, 200. And if I think about subtracting, no, I cannot subtract 2 ones. There aren't any. All right, well, let me go over and then understand that I will need to ungroup 10s to get more ones. Well, let me ungroup them. Wait, there are none in my picture. There's none in my tens place number. So I will need to go over to the hundreds place. And yes, I will need to ungroup, meaning I'm taking one of these and changing it into 10 tens. So going back to my picture, whatever I change in the picture, I then change in the corresponding place values in the equation. So I had 200s, but now I have 1. I ungrouped that, and I had no 10s. Now I have 10 of them, so I will change that in my problem as well. Let me go back to subtract. I still cannot subtract in the ones place, so I will need to ungroup one of my 10s. So I can have 10 ones to do my subtraction with. But whatever I do down here, I need to change up here. So I had 10 tens, but now I ungrouped one. I'm left with 9. And now I have 10 ones where I had none before. So I ungrouped a 10 to get more ones. Yes. I ungrouped 100 to get more 10s. Yes. Now I can go ahead and do my subtraction. I'm just going to switch colors to make it easy to see. I'm going to subtract my 2. 1, 2. I'm left with 8 ones. I'm going to subtract my 10s. I'm going to subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, leaving 4 ones left. I'm going to subtract my hundreds. I have none. We don't put a 0 in front of the number to start a number, so I will leave it out altogether. I have an answer of 48, and going back to my question, I have 48 erasers. So boys and girls, as you can see, this is going to be part of what we'll need to do to be able to understand what we're doing in our subtraction. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other subtraction story problems today. Remember, using our story problem steps, you'll have a proof drawing created in step 3 where you have to draw a picture. You'll show your ungrouping, and then you can prove your answer so you don't need a teacher to know if you got it right. Story problem number 1. A teacher buys 200 erasers for his students. Where have I seen this before? He gives 152 of them away. How many erasers does he have left? I see he has 200 erasers, gives 152 of them away, and we're looking for erasers. So again, I'm going to make my handy dandy math mountain. I know I have 200 because the group is not going to be larger. One addend is 152, and I'm looking for the other one. Think of my teeter symbol and going down the math mountain. So I will then have my equation of 200 minus 152. I will then draw my picture of 200, which is 100, 200. I cannot subtract ones, there aren't any. I cannot get ones because there are no tens. So I will ungroup one of my hundreds to get my 10 tens. I will change this to show that I've ungrouped, and now I have 1, and I have a new group of 10 tens. Going back, I still cannot subtract, so I will ungroup one of my tens, making 10 ones. Now I go back to my picture. I had 2 hundreds, I now have 1 of them. I had 10 tens, but now I only have 9. I had 0 ones, but now I have 10. So I am now working very hard to understand that I have to ungroup when necessary to be able to get to my subtraction answer. When working on this, I am seeing today that I need to do my subtraction in the following way. 10 minus 2 is 8. 1, 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 minus 1 is none. 48 erasers. Today, I'd like you to go ahead and do this for me. Cross out number 2. Cross out number 4. And work on number 3 with me, please. At the Music Megastore, there are 600 guitars for sale at the beginning of the month. At the end of the month, there were 359 guitars. How many guitars are sold? Going to my first number, I see there's 600 guitars. I understand this is the beginning of the month. Then I see that there are some that are sold because there must be some when I'm left with 359. So how many guitars are sold? I'm looking for the guitars that are sold. So I will write my label in, make my handy dandy math mountain. I understand that you start with 600. There will be no more. That you will be having your addend of 359 at the bottom, and a missing addend there. I can put my cheater symbol in knowing that I'm subtracting. So I will have my problem of 600 minus 359. And as I'm looking at this, I can tell right away I will need to ungroup to get more ones. That comes from the tens. I will need to ungroup to get more tens, which comes from the hundreds. I'll make my picture to help me understand each of my ungroupings. So I have 600 to start with, which looks like this. I then will go ahead and ungroup one of these to make 10 tens. I will make my change in my corresponding place values. There were 600s. There are now 5. There were no 10s. Now there are 10 of them. I see I still cannot subtract in the ones, so I ungroup one of these to get 10 ones. I go back to make my changes again. I'll check. I still have 500s. I had 10 tens, but I now have ungrouped one of them, and I have 9. I had no ones, and now I have 10. I can do my subtraction. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 5 is 4. And 5 minus 3 is 2. 100, 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 241. So I have proven with my proof drawing that I have 241 guitars sold. Let's go ahead and go on to page 340. We've worked with the number 1000 before, so before we get started today, I'm going to have you go ahead and join me in crossing out number 11, number 12. Oh, you don't need to do the check understanding. And I will ask you to do 3 today. So I'm going to do 1 with you, but you can count if you wish. You may do 3 or more. As I look in this first problem, 1000 minus 772, I cannot subtract. I'm going to make my symbol for 1000, which looks like this. I don't have any hundreds, any tens, or any ones, so I will ungroup to make 10 hundreds. So I have no thousands, but I do have 10 hundreds, which would be great if all of us subtracting the hundreds, but I still can't subtract on the tens or the ones. So I need to continue ungrouping. I'll ungroup 1 of my hundreds, and I will make 10 tens. So I'm going to change over here again. I had 10 100s, but I now only have 9. I had no 10s, but now I have 10 of them. I'm going to go back and try to subtract again. Still can't in the ones. So I'll need to ungroup 1 more time, taking 1 of the 10s and ungrouping it into 10 ones. I'm going to go back and make sure I have my corresponding changes in the thousands number at the top. I have 0 thousands, still have 9 hundreds. I had 10 tens, but now I actually have 9 of them. And I had no ones, but now I have 10. This allows me to subtract in each place. 10 minus 2 is 8. Let me check it. 1, 2, yes, 8. 9 minus 7, not sure, I'll do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 2 tens left. 9 minus 7 again, I know is 2, but I'll show it over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Counting off, I should get the number 228 when I count what's left of my picture. 100, 200, 210, 220, 225, 226, 227, 228. Please go ahead. Again, you need to do 3, so 1 is done. You can do more if you wish, but you'll need to do at least 2 more practices out of what is left before moving on to your form and showing me what you've learned about subtracting and ungrouping in those different places in the hundreds, tens, and ones when subtracting.